It's the Sports Peninsula podcast coming up. The Lions couldn't find any good fortune in the red zone last week in their 20-16 loss at home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now they'll travel west to the desert to face the suddenly formidable Arizona Cardinals, led by Kyler Murray and first-round selection Marvin Harrison Jr. The Lions are 1-1 on the young season, which is reminiscent of last season's start, which parlayed into a very magical season. How can the Lions take down the Cards? We'll discuss that and more next. Now here is your Sports Peninsula team. Welcome, everybody, to the Sports Peninsula podcast. My name is Dave Drzinski-Drew, and it is Thursday, September 19th, and we're here to talk Lions football, and I can't do that without our coach, Andy Shield, the Marine City Mariners. Coach, how you doing?
Doing well, Drew, doing well. Deep in the middle of football season here. You know, we have in the Shield household, we got some things going on with the Marine City Mariners. We are embarking on our fourth week of the season already. We take on the Centerline Panthers tomorrow. David's over. He's an underclassman, so he doesn't travel with the Spartans, but Spartan video, and he'll be back in East Lansing watching them take on the Golden Eagles of Boston College, very tough team led by Bill O'Brien. And we got this dandy that we need to talk about here too. Coming up here, week 3. Against an opponent that really got off and running last week against an opponent we barely squeaked by. And we're coming off of a loss, which, there's some things to think about and talk about here. But football season is upon us.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And yeah, Coach, we'll get into that. And it's talking about last week's game. I mean, at the end of the day, obviously it's a rough loss, 20-16. But I want to ask you, what in your mind went wrong? Because it wasn't a disaster, obviously. They lost, but there were opportunities to win this game several times late in the fourth quarter, and they just couldn't get it done. What do you think happened?
We never got on schedule offensively, and I think we were taken away from game plans. I think we threw, we had Jared Goff throw. He threw it 50 times. That's an awful lot. And it seemed like they were trying to set up the pass to open up the run, which at times it was successful. Mm-hmm. And this game had all the feels of the Rams game. Like, we're going to get it at the end. We're going to get it at the end. We're going to get it at the end. And you know what? Just we offensively were not potent enough to be able to do that. So, unfortunately, sometimes you have to be able to win games 16-13. There was one drive that was not very good for the Lions defense. Outside of that, we should be fairly proud of what they did. Which, okay, maybe that's where we're still at, but I think things are going to be okay, but we were off schedule offensively. And I really attribute that to being, our main issue. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, Hutchinson and Branch were outstanding. Hutchinson 4.5 sacks. My gosh, that was awesome. I thought they got steady pressure on Mayfield, even though he was able to get out of trouble. He can do that. He can scramble, but they had him under duress for a lot of that game, most of that game. When you look at the offense, yeah, Goff was not sharp. There's no doubt about that. I'm not talking about the interceptions, though. The interceptions, the first one was a PI that just wasn't called.
It was a horrible missed call by the referees. 100%.
Yeah, I wonder what JMO's neck's still sore from that one. He got clothesline pretty solid.
Yeah, that's amazing. They'll get dinged for that by the league. That crew will.
I would hope. Now the second one, who knows? Was it Jared Goff throwing in no man's land, or did Tim Patrick not take the right route? I don't know, but it looked like it was a terrible
quarterback receiver combination. There could be a little bit of lack of continuity there. Yeah, it makes sense if there was, because he's very new to the organization.
We talk about, I hate to dwell on this, because Dan Campbell fell right on the sword like a good leader should. And he did it at halftime, and he did it in the post-game press conference. He took the hit for the gaffe at the end of the second quarter when they should have just clocked it, and then brought the kicking unit on and got the field goal. And quite frankly, if they hit that field goal, which you'd like to think they would, Jake Bates is kicking a field goal with probably 10 seconds left in the game, and they win it. But I think, Coach, the biggest problem, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. I think they're trying to see, because everyone's up in arms. Goff, buyer's remorse, and Laporte is not involved.
I've heard. I have not listened, but I've heard.
Yeah, exactly. I heard it, but I'm not listening either. But I think they're really trying to see how can they get Williams involved consistently, and how can they make sure Gibbs is getting the ball more, because they're getting the ball a ton. St. Brown did finally get some touches in the second half, and he ended up having a pretty damn good game. And Montgomery's been getting his, but I think it's just my view of it, but I think they're trying to see what else they can do. But ultimately, at the end of the day, they're going to come back to what's working. I don't think it's going to be very long before we see Sam Laporta very involved in pass catching. But I wanted to know what your thoughts on that. Do you think there's any credence to that?
Well, I do think, Ben Johnson's keenly aware, and there is 100% truth, that the Detroit Lions offense was probably one of the more studied position groups or position or sides of the football for a team in the league. There were a lot of defensive eyes analyzing and trying to crack the code of Ben Johnson. And I think Ben Johnson is very well aware of that. So he's probably self-monitoring and seeing if he can generate a second look out of this group. This last one was a lot of pass, was a pass-heavy look to kind of set up the run. Ultimately wasn't the most successful. We got a little bit more old school run and then try to go vertical in the pass game against the Rams, scored a few more points. Ultimately, yes, we need to be able, we aren't living over the middle of the field like we did with Amon-Ra and Laporta these first 2 weeks. Okay, that has not been the case. We have seen J-Mo go over the top of the offense several times. We've seen him drag across. We've seen him get out into comeback route area and making some catches. Definitely getting him more involved. We still and we have been somewhat committed to the run. Although last week I do think I just didn't, that the offense just never seemed comfortable. So I do think they're forging that identity of the 2024 Detroit Lions offense and finding ways in which they can come back to the potency, or at least that part of the potency of the 2023 Detroit Lions offense.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense. So was I disappointed they lost? Of course, but not even remote. I'm really not even remotely concerned at this point, because there were many opportunities to win that game, and I'm pretty confident that this team's going to be okay. But again, here we're going to talk about week 3 coming up here, Coach, and you'd like to think a trip to the desert might be just the cure for what ails you, but this Cardinal team is showing something. They absolutely smacked the Bills in the mouth in week 1 in Buffalo, lost narrowly by 6 points. They put up 28 themselves. Last week, like you said earlier, Lions get by the Rams. They throttled the Rams 41-10. Now, remind you, the Rams are totally beat up now. Nakua and Kupp are both out, and both their tackles were out. That's a rough one, but impressive performance by the Cardinals. So we're going to talk about what the Lions offense can do against this Cardinal defense realistically, and how do you attack this Arizona defense, Coach? Because I know that their secondary and their linebacking core in particular is pretty strong in Arizona.
Well, they did lose 34-28 to Buffalo.
Yes.
So, we have to look at the Buffalo Bills and what they did. Now they have a very dynamic quarterback there, and I'm sure he was, a huge piece. I didn't look into the statistics of that game, but we want to make that look the case. And that's going to be having the football more than the Arizona Cardinals. So that's right then and there. That's telling us we need to possess the football in the run game and in high percentage pass situations. Maybe the next areas that the Lions are going to try to go is the kind of short to intermediate sideline route and flats area, and work those areas and continuing to work different, formations and motion guys to see if we can, generate some sort of, tiers and pass routes that make somebody wide open in a real high percentage area, and then they can do some things after the catch. That's where we need to kind of get again. How that's going to look, it's that's still kind of finding itself out. got to have some yin and yang with Dave Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. We can't just get a taste of Montgomery, a couple here and there, and then now we're all going into the sugar and spice, type things. It was getting found out. It was not there. Jared Goff was just going on these first down flare dumps to Jahmyr Gibbs, and Tampa Bay was just jumping that. I mean, they were all over it. Yeah. So, I really don't think, we have forged our true identity on this offense yet. I think it's a work in progress. That being said, defensively, we've got some interesting matchups. Is Terry and Arnold going to be manning up Marvin Harrison? Is that going to be the matchup? Or are they going to do some different things to bracket cover Marvin Harrison and have Kyler Murray going elsewhere? Kyler Murray is extreme. He is far and away the most mobile quarterback they will have seen so far this year. Very elusive, very watery. And yes, we did a nice job last week generating some pass rush on Baker Mayfield. How are we going to put Kyler Murray under duress? Being 5'9", there are ways to do that, and it's to basically have Kyler Murray become a pocket passer. So we've got to be careful. We've got to generate rush from the edges, but it's got to be responsible because we have to frame him. So you can't come with a lot of different aggressive pass rush packages and stunts and blitzes, because that's how he starts operating. So, I mean, there's going to be some governance too, because right now we got to live through the defense until this offense gets figured out. And I guess that's my point.
But we'll stay on that side of the ball then, and we'll come back to the offense for the Lions versus their defense. So we'll stick to that then now. Kyler Murray has had about 480 yards passing this year in 2 games. He's also got, I want to say, about 170 yards, 116 yards rushing as well. So like you say, he's a dual threat, little guy. I think, and to your point, it's not about, you got to put him under pressure, but I think they got to contain him in the pocket. Collapse the pocket, keep him, make him throw from the pocket. He's 5'0". Make him throw from the pocket. The worst thing that could happen is what happened every time they played a running quarterback last year, in my view. You got Hutch doing the inside roll, and then what happens? Murray or Lamar Jackson or Brock Purdy, you name the running quarterback, they're rolling out, and it's there all day. They've got to keep him contained. If they're going to let Hutchinson do his thing, which I have no problem with, you damn well better have somebody spying the quarterback right then. We talked about this off air a couple of days ago. I could see a Malcolm Rodriguez playing a key role in that because he is fleet of foot. He's a sure tackler. That I'd like to see. Other than Marvin Harrison Jr., I mean, Trey McBride certainly, he's the number one target. He's got 15 catches this year already. He's their number one target. He's a very good tight end. But again, that's where Derek Barnes or hopefully, I don't know about Anzalone's health. I'm not sure.
I think you're gonna get a Rodrigo start this week because I think Anzalone may be down. I still think maybe clearing protocol.
So we'll see a lot of Rodrigo and Barnes and Jack Campbell, who I know he can hang too. So I think I'd like to see that, or at the very least, maybe Brian Branch is coming down low, but there's going to be a size disadvantage there with McBride. It's a pretty good size tight end, but they're going to have to worry about Harrison. But James Conner definitely is a threat. Their offense is good, better than I think people thought, better than I thought. Of course, we expected Harrison Jr. to be really good, but I think the Lions really, the key is to keep Murray in the pocket, make him throw. I trust the Lions running defense. I don't fear James Conner personally running over them, but I think keeping in the pocket's the key. Any other concerns you have, Coach, in terms of how to attack that Arizona offense?
Yeah, I'm going to get uncomfortable if we are sending too much at Kyler Murray and he's able to kind of break, like we said, contain. That's just unsound. That's not good defense. There's times that we've, even with the Mariners a little bit, I'm a little concerned about, how we're doing that a little bit. And that's just going to keep plays alive. And, You can't just always catch them back for a second time. A good quarterback's going to make you pay for that. Kyler Murray is a very good quarterback. 5'9", or not. I mean, he can beat you. We have struggled with him in the past, and earlier years. We're a much better football team than that. We have to be solvent against, the run, which we have been. I'm very satisfied with that.
Yeah.
Third down has to improve for the Lions. We've got to get better on third down. And yes, it has to come in, and we need more incompletions on third down is what we need to see.
Oh, you hit it on the head, Coach.
Because we're not going to hit home all the time. Yes, we're going to have a viable pass rushing, but we need to have more incomplete passes thrown on third down. That's got to be, something that our secondary improves upon. And they will, because there's going to be some major learning curves. We have a rookie corner out there that's still cutting his teeth, but we need to win on third down to get that defense off the field and the offense back on, and then become yet at least somewhat to the identity and that baseline of what the Detroit Lions are. And that baseline is that any time they have to, they're just going to go into run it down your throat mode, and they're going to be able to do it. But because there are some concerning things, like Frank Ragnow's not off to the greatest start this year. His block rating is very low.
Kevin Zeitler got a very good rating last week.
He's outstanding. So he did have to go against Vita Vea, and there are some things that the law of averages should correct. We all know that Frank Ragnow is a fantastic football player.
Oh yeah.
So, that's kind of like being concerned if Shohei Ohtani went 0 for 6 in his first 2 games of the season or something like that. Hey, look, there's some time to get this ship righted. And I firmly believe that we are still in a position to do that. Look at all the other teams, the supposed Super Bowl contenders, especially on the NFC side of the docket, that are struggling right now.
I mean, the Niners lose. The Cowboys get their butts kicked by New Orleans. The Bears lose.
Atlanta.
The Eagles lose to Atlanta at home. It's definitely not Panic City. Definitely not Panic City yet. And it's not like the Lions were outclassed in any way, shape, or form. Statistically, if you just look at the statistic, you think, what was the score? Or what did they win by? And they didn't. And one thing I'm going to point out, and this is where stats lie. I hate how the Lions are giving up way too much on third down. You brought it up, and people are going to say, well, Drew, you're full of it because they were only 2 of 10 on third down. I don't care, because and the 3rd and 22, and quite frankly, this cost them the game too. They were 3rd and 22. They give up 19 yards. They put them in field goal range. They lose by 4. Probably could have kicked the field goal in the red zone in the last couple of minutes and won that game. That's another play. So I don't like it. And yet, when I watched Tampa Bay defend the Lions on third down, the Lions were 7 of 17. But when the Lions really needed to convert, the Buccaneers were able to line up 3 guys or 4 guys along that. They found the sticks. And I didn't understand, Coach, on that last play of the game, why 3 pass catchers weren't even at the sticks to get the first down. They had no other option but to throw the ball and try to get a touchdown. They couldn't stop the clock. I was baffled. I didn't understand it. What do you think?
Well, and I think we're talking about a high pressure game situation, games on the line. Okay. This isn't like in the middle of the game and things are just, status quo with a, 2-score lead or something like that. It's a high pressure, gotta perform moment. And they have not had game situations like that together. It's a rusty offense. It is one of the cons to doing what they did with the majority of the starters in the preseason, which is really not play them at all. There's a lot of conventional wisdom for saying that. I'm not pushing against that by saying that. I mean, they did what they did. And I know, like, Kevin Zeitler, for one, is very appreciative of that. When, that grind, I mean, that is, where you really weather your body in this sport, and this it starts at the high school level, right on up, is at the beginning of the season. I mean, if you show up 100% after that first week, you're probably in the upper 80s, never to get quite past 92, 93. And that's it's that way in other sports too. I mean, you get weathered by this game a little bit, and they have to get those feels a little bit. And there's conventional wisdom though, and resting them, because do you really need Frank Ragnow taking a pounding these first 3-4 weeks of the preseason? He comes in. I mean, we're talking about a guy that's got some dings. He fights through some chronic injuries at this stage in his career. Taylor Decker's the same way. He's got some chronic injuries. I mean, the average fan would never know that because they play so well. But I mean, this is true. Graham Glasgow's not a spring chicken anymore. We know Kevin Zeitler's one of the older players in the league. So I mean, and then Penny's 23. But it's going to take some time. And some of there's creativity. There's things they've worked on that we've not seen yet. We are going to be that team that can lean on things offensively. But at this point in time, and we have to be able to do this in general, Drew, we got to be able to lean on the defense in times like this, and when we're playing an absolute juggernaut. We've got to be able to win games 13-10 or 16-13.
Yeah. No, you're right, Coach. And you brought up Graham Glasgow. He got, and it wasn't really, I didn't even see it happen because it was on the last interception that Goff had thrown. But he had gotten kind of sandwiched and he got dinged up in the shoulder and arm area. He has not practiced. I haven't heard any updates on him. I imagine he's questionable.
And Alstika will jump in if that's the case. He is really the reserve left guard.
Yeah.
In this look. And then at right guard, our two rookies are really not able to play at this point in time. We probably are looking at Sorsdahl, and then he would be able to bounce and help us at tackle as well a little bit. Yeah, I mean, that's fortunate. We do have some depth. We do have some depth and some quality reserves in that offensive line. For as good of a year as it was last year, that offensive line rarely played together. I mean, there were substitutes and backups playing, prominent roles throughout the whole year. So, I mean, that's going to happen a little bit with the physicality and nature of how we play offense. So, what's unfortunate is maybe some of our younger guys are just not physically able to play or ready to play, quite yet. So, we got to be careful. We could get thinned out on that offensive line if we get too dinged up. And that would not be a good thing.
No, it wouldn't. And Sewell got rolled up on, although I think it sounds like he's going to be good to go. Not a high ankle sprain, but it was close. Certainly you want to be careful there. But let's getting back to the keys to the offense, Coach. I think we definitely need more balance. Like you said, Goff throwing 50 times, they ain't gonna get it. But do you think they go in with the same mindset they're gonna throw to set up the run, or do you maybe give a little balance here? What are your thoughts?
Oh, they're gonna come back and do that again. They're gonna do that again. That's one of the mix-ups that they're gonna try to do to do that. I mean, whether they do that this week in Arizona or not, I mean, it's possible. They're going to continue to find ways in which they can set up the run and get in it, and then from that run be able to operate in the middle of the field with a pass, because you're going to do one or two. You're going to do one or the other. You're either going to defend the run real well and real stout, or you're going to defend the middle of the field real well and real stout. Mm-hmm. It's very difficult to do both against a good football team, and that's ultimately where they want to live and do their business. But they've got to find those secondary pitches, so to speak. Thinking Tiger baseball and the historic run that we're on, and awesomeness of that. We've got to have those secondary pitches to have the repertoire it does to really be that tough out.
Yeah, and I see that, and I think the Lions they got to control the clock.
Like I said, we got to keep Kyler off the field. I mean, that's going to make it. I mean, if we're struggling, let's get into the run game and let's just establish it, okay, till we can get the pass game rolling again. And is it the vocal minority that's going to be aired on our local sports talk radio station, is going to get their say. As there's this turn on Jared Goff yet? No, I mean, not at all. I mean, it was not fun to watch him struggle.
No.
That was, it seemed like there was some passes it's like he didn't even really want to throw it. And I don't want that. The only concern I have that I just hope this isn't, he's getting into his own head a little bit and he's starting to second guess himself, because I think that may have happened a little bit in Los Angeles, because it was just, the media market was so tough on him, the fan base. And, quite honestly, they moved on from him. And, that's fresh in his mind too. That's happened to this guy. And you don't want him to struggle with those capacities once again, because he's got something in his hands that's so awesome right now. Don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think that's going to be the case. Can't think that way after 2 games. And even if he struggled one more time, it's more of a topic. But it's more of a topic in that how he's going to remedy it and get through it at that point in time. I don't think we're there yet. That because we did move the football down the field. That last pass was strange, but I mean, we did do it. We were able to do it. But we had 2 cracks at it at the end and came up dry. So I mean, hey, let's be a little bit more efficient this week. Let's get that score at the end of the half. And here's to improving.
Yeah, exactly. Always tough to win on the West Coast. But the Lions have had some success recently. Certainly you're a better team, you win games. But I think, and then when again, looking at the ball, the defensive side of the ball, I mean, we know Murray's going to get his, but I think they just got to keep him under control. And again, if they can keep him in the pocket, to me, that's the key. If you force him to throw, beat you with his arm, I like how the Lions look in this game. I like their chances. What do you think, Coach? How do you think this is going to shake out?
Well, I'm going to go, with where, I want it to shake out and how I think it can shake out. We have been a pretty good defensive football team throughout this year so far. I mean, honestly, we had one bad drive from beating that team 16-13. They had scored 1 touchdown and 2 field goals. So, I mean, they scored 2 touchdowns and 2 field goals against us. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers did. And against the Rams, I mean, they're somewhat depleted. We still won that football game. We have to be able to get off the field and put the ball into our offense's hands. I do think there's going to be a committed effort to run the football and shorten this football game a little bit. Going to be hotter, than a hornet down there, a hornet's nest again down there. I mean, I know it's an AC, facility and everything, but nonetheless, we're going to try to shorten that game, keep people fresh. And I want to say I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions victory, 27-23.
Wow, that's, what, I'm right with you. I'm just going to tack 10 points onto each of those scores. I think it's going to be a little bit of a shootout, 37-33. But I ultimately think the Lions will win this game. I'm very confident in that. I don't have any. I can't logically say that I don't think the Lions can win this game or will win this game. Now, hell, Arizona's got a shot. There's no question about that. This is not a gimme. What does concern me, if they go 1-2, Coach, it's not the end of the world. I get it, but that would be 1-2 in the conference. And let's face it, again, it's not Panic City, but if we're as a fan base, we're not just hoping they make the playoffs this year. I think our expectations are a little higher. So you cannot have too many conference losses. It can't be, well, it's not a divisional team. I don't care. That's a team you might play in the playoffs. I mean, hell, we might be having to go to Raymond James Stadium now come playoff time. And we're going to think about the week. We're going to think about the week too. But it is what it is. You take it game by game. But yeah, I think we're both pretty much in lockstep of how this is going to shake out. I would rather it be how you say it, though. I don't really want it to get into a shootout per se. But at the end of the day, I think the Lions still can win this football game and will win this football game. Take it back home Monday night, and then I think we'll get to see the blue helmet and the new black uniforms, I believe, for that one. So we look forward to that. But any other thoughts on this game, Coach, before we wrap this one up?
Yeah, I just think they're going to establish the run game and be able to shorten this game a little bit, and that clock's going to bleed a little bit. I see 3 touchdowns and 2 field goals. That's how I see it operating. That's, I do think we'll run 2 of these touchdowns in. And, whether it's a passing touchdown or, our defense can somehow generate something, awesome. But, I think the defense, it would be great if we generated a score of some kind. Not that they scored it on the defense themselves, but that a turnover was created and we capitalize off of that with a score. That would be really, really promising to see. And because I do think they're going to have some ways of keeping, Kyler Murray off the board. I still think they're going to score 2 touchdowns, but I think they're going to be kicking some field goals. Because we know they are a pretty good kicker. Yeah,
Matt Prayer's pretty good. We got a good one in Mr. Bates, though.
He's cooking. That's great to see because he scuffles at times, and that is a 50 caliber desert eagle, man. That I mean, he has got a bomb on it, and sometimes in short range, it can get a little bit left and right on him a little bit. But it is going to be interesting to see him, hit a 59, 60-yarder in a game. Because it's going to happen. And ultimately, he will. There will be that opportunity and then get that going. Because, really, we've now hit this kind of phase now with Tucker being able to kick the way he does. We know Prater has long-term range. I mean, kids in schools know who Brandon Aubrey is. The kicker of the Dallas Cowboys, because he's got a bomb, and I tell you what,
look what Chase McLaughlin did. That kick he made against the Lions last week, that easily clear. I guarantee that would have been a 60-yarder easily.
I mean, guys are lining up, with maybe one extra step, hitting 70-yarders off of automatic holds, and then that's not with a rush or anything, but just with an automatic hold or hitting, they're hitting it from the 40-yard line.
Yeah, it's impressive. I mean, I remember, as kids to hit a 50-yarder, and it still is a big deal. But I mean, back then it was like, wow, you hit a 50-yard field goal. To hit a 60 was like, yeah, it happened once, and it literally.
Leg strength and is increased.
Yeah, athleticism in general, pretty much. So, this is going to be a good game, though. We're looking forward to this. Coach, who you guys got before we wrap it up this weekend? Tomorrow, actually.
Carolina Panthers at East China Stadium tomorrow at 7:00. It's Hall of Fame night. So we're going to enter some, Mariner legends are going to be inducted into the Marine City Athletic Hall of Fame, which is always a special time. And for those individuals and to honor those legacies in Marine City Athletics. And we take on the Centerline Panthers, so we need to be ready for that and attack what they've got going on offense and, keep things going, the way we have been on offense, which has been great on the ground. So, that is going to be the game plan there. It'll be an exciting time down in East China or up in East China Stadium, tomorrow evening.
That's awesome. Well, good luck, Coach. That's great. Take care. Fans, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. We love it. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Give us your thoughts. Give us your comments. We'd like to have some chatter with you. Down the road, who knows, some new content. But right now, every Thursday, count on a Lions preview and a Lions game day review from Coach Shield and our roundtable, and for myself, Drew. So for Coach Andy Shield, I'm Drew. Thanks everybody for watching and for subscribing. And we'll take care, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. This has been the Sports Peninsula Podcast. To subscribe to the podcast, simply click the subscribe button on our YouTube channel's homepage and give us a like. You can also follow our audio podcast on multiple platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Google Podcasts, just to name a few. Give us a follow on Twitter. Our handle is @SportsPPodcast to check out our latest releases. Thank you again for watching and for your support. Remember, when you want to hear all about sports in the great state of Michigan, there is only one Sports Peninsula Podcast.